Yeah, man, so 12 years of doing this stuff and I'm still figuring it out, but I know the best part of it is that, now I can do it with more people. And so that's the story I want to tell y'all about is like, Berlin even hollered about it in one of the excerpts that we did earlier today, where he talked about his journey. So I think that's cool that it even kind of ties into the story I wanted to tell anyway. And this is about creative entrepreneurship. My man Reason was talking about that. So I think that's very aligned. So to give more context of the story that I'm mentioning is more about me transitioning from doing something not legitimate into something legitimate. And like that's important because my whole family background is more so, military, upstanding, go to school, get your degree, do the right thing. And I had to find more alternative routes to just like really be my true self and my true being. And that landed me here in Philadelphia, where I was able to just be around some of the most eclectic and like universally dynamic people, like meaning specifically, like you can get different types of culinary, you can get different types of music, you can get different types of communicative styles all in one city and in one place. So that's why I mean like it's dynamic and how you can get your creative expression through being here. And so on a deeper note, right? Because I don't want this to be boring, but I want it to be meaningful. So on a deeper note, like a lot of my choices being here have been revolved around me more so just trying to find myself. And I feel like I said, after 12 years, I'm fully now starting a real entrepreneurial journey. And that looks like me being in the center of what it is that I'm doing versus just highlighting other people. But I knew I needed to build a platform for what would be an effective centerpiece. It's like having a crib or like when you bring people to a housewarming and then you bring them in the living room and then you have that one element that's probably not in your house every day, but you got it in there today to make it a lit vibe. So it's like when you got the ice swan, the sculpture, and it's like, it's fly, but it's like, you don't be having it in your crib every day. So that's the element that I know I had to build, is like, to get y'all in the living room to truly enjoy the home that I'm building, there has to be that element that intrigues people and brings them forward. So that's why we built a media platform where, everybody's dreams and ideas of what it meant to be in the media, from my experiences and the people that relate to what I'm offering, they're like, I want to be on TV, MTV, radio, internet, everyone see me, hi mom, I'm famous now, energy, right? And so that's what we've been offered with this opportunity with technology. And I'll start with my point of like what I want to talk to y'all about with it is because, today is the Shades of Brilliance, and I'm talking about a lot of technology stuff because that has been able to bridge me to my dreams. And I created this experience because I know that I've become an effective messenger and an impactful leader in the community of people that I serve, whereas like, there's all the things that I've said that I've done, but I recognize how much impact I've had from the things that I've actually done. So let me say that again. There's these things that I've said that I've done, right, saying it, but then there's like what people have witnessed it with their own eyes and interpreted that they've seen me do. And I'm like, wow, some things don't even need to be said. Like sometimes people just gotta see you just, as my man's Reason taught me, you gotta put the Balmains on, pull up in the Montclair. You heard? That's how sometimes it's gotta be. And so, it's those sentiments that really carry me through. And technology, whether it's been the first year I came here and just being able to show my appreciation to my friends, edifying them, making videos of them, making merchandise of them, putting graphics of them, that helped me learn how I was going to build my skills with graphic design and media, just wanting to serve and be a good friend and a good accomplice to those who I came up here with. I came up here with Smooth Waffle, and he here to this day. And these are the type of trust that I want to teach y'all how to actually maintain and develop in y'all's lives as well, because when y'all got people that's really in your corner and that really trust you, you can grow stuff exponentially, bigger, faster, everything that you imagining, and that I've imagined for myself as well. Up until the point where it's like 2019, I opened up my own commercial space, and I had to assemble a team for that. I had people that I had met from Philadelphia help me build that dream, and then I had people like Berlin and some of the people who I was living with at the time, like my own roommates and living siblings, right? These are family members to me. These is living siblings, like people that you really create that brotherly, sisterly vibe with, but they willing to work with you with all the tools and resources that they have. And so that commercial space showed me how much I truly was adept at business. Like, you know, I had, like I said, wanted to transition from illegitimate to legitimate, and I never really looked at how much my adolescent years, from like the ages of 13 to like 17 to 20-ish, that it formed my personality, but it wasn't who I was. You know what I mean? That was like my environment and me getting more submerged into what the lack of resources or the formidable resources that were around us. So it's like we was trading and selling crime, drugs, trauma, you know what I mean, infamy for status, and that's what all people want is status, right? And so in my environment, it's like you gotta do certain things to get within that status symbolism that people would like to emulate and be a part of or follow. And so that was what introduced me to what eventually became the love and the passion of my life, which was business. You know what I mean? But I didn't know that's why I was doing it. I thought I was doing it for the status, but then when I really realized that what kept me in it, even through the failures, like my man Reason mentioned earlier, is wow, I really love serving and providing people a product that they're satisfied, fulfilled with, and feel like that represent them and that speak to their values and their efforts. So when I opened up the commercial space, I'm like, all right, we got to bring people something that they've never done before, never had before. So, you know, I'll tell a little story on top of the one that I'm intertwining now. Is like, when we used to look for spaces, they used to discriminate us. They didn't want the type of music that we was doing. They didn't want the type of crowd. They would have the kind of questions that would insinuate that we was a liability, even though we was just trying to create and express ourselves. A lot of these spaces we create are therapeutic, you know what I mean, and very necessary. Some people are needing to escape their home environment, and that 4 hours that you get them, that's magic for them. That's healing. That's a lot for what they need. I know that's what it was for me. You know what I mean, I had to move approximately 350 miles away from my home to find stability. So a lot of those events I was going to was literally what I was living for up until that point. And then so I started creating them because I knew what they did for me. I want to do that for other people. So, you know, now we're in a stage 3 years after that where I'm like, I'm more established and more aware of what I'm capable of, whether it's the graphic design we mentioned, the event curation, making music, I mean, meeting people, networking. I mean, shouts out to the Geminis. I'm a Gemini, and that's ruled by Mercury. And, you know, to channel that business element into the metaphysical element that brings the Shades of Brilliance together, along with the technology, is that this metaphysics was essential to being as consistently creative as I've been. And I'm gonna start right here, and this is trigger warning, right? There's really no such thing as these writer's blocks and these creative blocks that we be trying to create, right? A lot of that stuff is used to hide perfectionism, which is a state of being unconfident in your work, right? When we not truly coming from a place where our work service is us, then we don't want to make it. It's fair, right? Like, it's not doing nothing for you. And deep down inside, you know it's not doing nothing for nobody else. So you saying that it's a block, but you could just write shitty work. Why wouldn't you do yourself that favor? But that's the whole point. You think that the work has no value, right? But it's not up to you to determine the value of the work. If you go save somebody for a fire, you don't get the I Save 50 People from a Fire award. When you're a service person, it's your job to consistently provide something that's useful, right? So your content is useful to someone. Your writings are useful to someone. Even if they're not useful to anyone today, they're useful for your effort to get the fuck better. You know what I mean? So once again, trigger warning off. We're gonna go back to the nice stuff. But I wanted to be direct with y'all because metaphysically, all of these things start from the shadow, from behind you, from within you. So everything that you manifested on paper, into the microphones, onto the cameras, are just shades and facets of who you are, right? So if the content is not working, it's because there's inner work that needs to be done. And there's something that's not relevant and that does not connect with other people who you would like to serve. And that's something you gotta check yourself on, right? Because the ego is deeply attracted to the negative attention of the internet. It's deeply attracted to it. Even when it can get into somebody else's comments and seem to have a voice and an opinion in a matter that has nothing to do with you, it fuels it. It feels like I got my stuff off. I got to say something that was important. I was heard, but why wouldn't you put that same effort into the things that you think are valuable? Shouts out to Less Nobodies, AKA Unique. I had shared a video of Meek Mill's defaming his community, while then in another excerpt talking about how rappers are paid to defame their community, right? And she said, why even share it? If you know it's nutty and you know it's not going to build the community or the message that you'd like to build, you are validating it by sharing it, even if you're saying you don't like it. Because the way that the internet works is off of people validating it based on sharing it. And this goes back to the metaphysical element, because sharing is a form of energy that is etheric, it is unseen, and is intangible. So when you make the effort and the interest of something, even when you profess and claim with your words, it's almost like tainted words, because now you've also misled other people to believe in something that is not truly within you, right? So they think you represent not standing for this type of media, but behind closed doors you laugh about it with your friends. Even if you attempt to describe its mediocrity, you're a part of it, because the people who arm and embed this content on these platforms, they make money off of that. Their bottom line is met. So I want to encourage everyone on a very deep metaphysical level to really breathe and think about the things that they create, because the relevancy is one thing, but then also keeping in consideration, what does this do for me? That's number one, not from an egotistical standpoint. Like truly, like, dude, shouts out to Berlin once again. He was able to give himself a space of vulnerability, right? That's how he described his content that we curated today. It was an opportunity for him to be vulnerable, and that's something that he needed. Now what he's doing is sharing that vulnerability with other people. And if there's something that you can gain from that, that's the limited barrier of entry that he's created for you to establish some value, and that creates trust. And that's what a lot of the content that we create on social media lacks now, is trust. That you're even going to consistently show up. You like the sun because it's there every morning. You like certain shows because you know it's going to come on Wednesday, not Thursday at 8, but sometimes at 6. And because Jeff Bezos don't close down Amazon when he loses a loved one. He doesn't say, cease all the Amazons, I'm healing, I have shadow work to do, right? That's not a time for him to shut down all operations for things that serve other people that are useful. If you're going to be in business, if you're going to be a creative entrepreneur, this is not for the people who are just creative, who are just doing it for therapy, who are just doing it for expression. You saying you wanted to be a business, you talking about generational wealth. We all saying that these are the things that we aspire to, but then when the requirement is put in front of us, we want to mince the words and mince the meanings and create these analogies and these efforts that don't align with the purpose that we say that we're driven by, which is to be authentic and create space for other people to be authentic. So if it's, I need money for that, then your offer ain't even that good, because I would have wanted to pay you. You shouldn't have to chase me down to pay you. If you got paintings in here, if it's fire, I buy it. But if you have to coerce me into not liking other people's music and coerce me to not like what I got going on and what's going on outside and things about myself just to buy the painting, then is it really helpful and healing, or is it manipulation? This is something me and Reason talk about all the time, where it's like you just end up manipulating people because you don't know how to do things that serve you, right? So the trust element is what'll lead me to the end of my point here, is like the hip hop part, right? The thing that gave me life when I lived in a community, in an environment that was scheduled for death. That is truly the relearning process. If you can truly dive into what hip hop offers the communities that it tells the stories of, it's almost like the brainwash we speak of, that's the Clorox, that's the clean the shit. That you saying that's drenched your mind and has you invested in things that don't serve you. Really tapping in with the vehicle of hip hop, and not just as a form of entertainment, but as a genre of expression in music and culture that you can immerse yourself in and learn about true creativity from a place of trust. Now, I want to get in my little scholarship bag to say, like, we transitioned a long time from hip hop to rap. You know what I mean? Everything's not hip hop. Hip hop is giving people true information about the environments that we live in. It's as simple, what content is supposed to be today, the whole thing that I just explained. That's why a lot of the most viral pieces of content and media that exist is that euphemism, that youth idealizes hip hop. Whether it's the songs, whether it's the gestures, whether it's the memes, whether it's the connotations, the references, the relevancy, it's all tied to hip hop a lot of times. Even when you do something as simple as say, I'm about to hop online, that's slang, right? These are terminologies that are created from the culture of hip hop, right? So when we arm ourselves with the time and the two things that we do have ownership of in a world where certain things are out of our range of experiences, like we can't all afford all things. But one thing that you do have inherently from your experiences is your time and your culture, right? And that means if you sell your culture or your time, that was the only thing you had. So now you're back at square one. You have money, but now you have to figure out what you're doing with the money. So if you know you have culture to export and share, and you have the time to edify that and make paintings and make games and make merchandise and make music, and you know you have time for that, you should not just sell it for things that don't completely answer the questions of how you'd like to solve and align your life. Giving it up for $9.99 on a streaming platform don't got shit to do with what you need to do. You just accepted that because that's what everybody else is doing. You did not think that up for your art when you made that shit. You did not say, I'm going to put this on a streaming platform. Like, you did it because that's what people told you to do. And so when we get back to actually building trust in the actual content, we can get back to what I call hip hop consciousness, right? With it, because every time I y'all see me, I've been talking for a minute, I'm freestyling, right? And I say that with pride and with super duper proudness in myself, because that's the best type of content when it comes from somewhere real. I don't gotta make it all up. And I've been doing this for years. So I can come from my own personal experiences, I can come from analogies, I can come from all different types of places because I've built up this skill for a very, very long time. I could do this for days. You smell me? So it's like, thank hip hop, I want to, because it gave me the knowledge to know that something can be made from nothing, and that, you know, there's trillions of dollars that's made from this one little thing that wasn't even seen as an art form. Like when Ice Cube and them was doing that, and I know I really am speaking to Berlin too, like, cause he's one of the people who introduced me to music. So if I wasn't like knowledgeable about this stuff, I wouldn't have known that these possibilities were even available. I would have just, my goal was to either make it into the NBA or be Big Meech. Those were my two aspirations. If the basketball thing wasn't gonna work out, I was gonna get a green Lexus and I was gonna ride around my neighborhood and do what people do in BMF, you feel me? So, allegedly speaking, shouts out to the BMF gang, you heard? So, that's why it's important for me to talk about hip hop, like when Ice Cube was actually in NWA, actually a gangster, not knowing how his message was even going to be distributed, because the entire industry of music said it wasn't music, and they were trying to criminalize these people and take them out of the opportunity to create. They were like, they want to arm the public to destroy the police force with violence. Like, they created a complete menace to society out of these gentlemen, right? And now Ice Cube is one of the most world-renowned film producers that owns his entire production and catalog outside of a couple pieces of work, but you know what I mean? That's why we're here today. The point I'm making is there are phenomenal things that can happen through this vehicle called hip-hop, but it's not just music anymore. It's fashion. It's gone into technology on social media. It's magazines. It's the way that we consume food now. Shouts out to Slutty Vegan. And you could be a part of this as well by using these vehicles of technology, right? Having knowledge yourself and acquiring the information of metaphysics, which is just the actions of things that develop and produce the physical world. Don't overthink it. Metaphysics is not that deep. It's just like going to science class. It's like, how did the rock become a rock before the elements of the rock became rock, right? It's that simple. So when we start intertwining hip hop, that's the subject. Now, that is your experiment. That's how you cultivate and arm yourself with information, points of view, community, everything that you need to create magic in your reality, right? And I'm gonna leave y'all with this point, because like I said, this 12 years has put me in a position now where I have a media platform, I have several intellectual properties, I have content that I can share with the world, I have digital downloads that explain the process of my content creation, I have moments on social media that show people that I'm a trustworthy source of what I describe. I'm not just talking from inside of my bedroom, going through the internet, sifting through it, regurgitating things that I know are already working for other people, right? You've seen me go through this for a really long time. So with all that being said, this is really the beginning for me to assemble people in a room, not based on what's trendy or what everybody else is doing, but because they're actually invested in what I've said and done. They actually want to see what's good for me, and they actually want to have me a part of the things that they do, you know what I'm saying, like that are good to them. Like they actually, like I've met people parents, I've met people children, and they trust me around these people because they think that I can add value to them and vice versa. You smell what I'm saying? So I know these are the things that y'all really want. And this is the clip I'm gonna start with on social when I release this conversation is, don't you wanna be loved and don't you wanna be accepted? I feel like that's the root of everything that creatives become from when they start, comes from a place of unacceptance and not feeling the love. And that's some of us, that's who I speak to. Shouts out to everybody who create with a paintbrush from college, and shouts out to everybody who makes music from a trombone bought from their granddad and passed down, like all of the beautiful moments that were able to translate into your expression through the arts. That's not who I'm talking to though. I'm talking to the person who had to sit upstairs all day and they memorized their favorite video game's soundtrack list. I'm talking to the person who used to have the phone out all the time and take pictures of people that they thought they might never see again. I'm talking about the person who wrote so many love letters because they couldn't connect to the person that they were writing it to. You know what I mean? People who are not always accepted and seen for what they have to offer. So, I mean, my name is Terrence Harris. This is gonna be the end of the Shades of Brilliance, and I wanted to make this like as a note too to myself and everybody who, you know what I mean, was a part of it. Shouts out to Dom, shouts out to Sean, shouts out to Octavio and Reason as well, because I mean, when I look back on this, I might look at this 15 years later and y'all might not be around. I might not know exactly like where y'all at, you know what I'm saying? But I'll be able to be like, I'll be able to share that moment with someone else like, nah, this was the person who was in. Matter of fact, let's go look them up. Let's see if we can find them, right? And maybe there'll be an avatar or a hologram of y'all one day. But I'm very, very grateful and thankful for everybody who watches this all the way to the very end. And you know what I mean? About to get up out of this job.